the grind, the bubble grind.
Now we have a guy that could probably get in there if you...
It's game day. The Edmonton Oilers hit the road once again.
Hey, good afternoon to you. Welcome to EST Afternoons right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Matt Iwanyk in for Hernan and Gage for the rest of this week, for the whole week, as well as next Monday. I am joined alongside Zachary Koob Kubusch, also known as The Cube. The Cube. We're here for you, with you for the next 2 hours. Lots to discuss on the show today. Most notably, more conversation, obviously, on Canada's loss to the Americans yesterday in the men's gold medal game out at the Olympics in Italy. Canada claiming the silver medal after falling 2-1 in overtime to the Americans. On the show today, Mick Kern will join us in about 15 minutes time or so from SiriusXM NHL Network. We'll get his thoughts on Canada's loss to the Americans. Just look back at that game, which we will do momentarily here. We'll want your thoughts. Nasty chat is how you can get in touch with us, or you could text us in the River Cree inbox at 780-218-9999. Already looking in the nasty chat. No, I'm not changing my prediction. The Oilers making the playoffs. The Oilers are in the playoffs. If they're not, you could come and you could ask me that question. You could bring that up. Feel free. The Oilers are not missing the playoffs. Again, always with the negativity, Shoggy and St. Albert. Always just going to the worst possible case. I always thought I was a negative Nelly. It must be something else waking up every day worrying about. Like, here's the thing, Shoggy. The world might end one day. Are you worried it's going to end today? Because it feels like you might be, because that's how it seems like you live. Just worst case on everything.
You take a realistic approach, Matty. See, you're not a pessimist. You just take things how they should be taken, right?
And as a sports fan, generally think the worst things are going to come from my team, but I don't believe that is the only case here. But I'm surprised Shoggy thinks that, the world's not going to end tomorrow and isn't questioning our thought. Hey, look, I'll say the world's not going to end tomorrow, but Shoggy will be in like, you sure about that?
Well, do you see the snow? It's a blizzard outside.
The Olympics, they came to a conclusion yesterday as well. The last medal handed out was in that men's hockey game, but then we had the closing ceremonies. What overall I feel like was a very successful Olympics out in Milan Cortina. It didn't seem like there was any major issues. It seemed like it rather went well. I know some of the athletes complained about, I know like with ski cross, Reese Howden was not happy with the conditions of those, but that's Mother Nature to a degree. I thought this comes down as a solid Olympics that we had out in Italy. I want to get somebody to discuss that. I want to discuss that. So Matt Cullen of CBC, he's a play-by-play broadcaster with them. He's been calling a few Olympics things for them. He'll be on to talk about the Olympics overall. The fact that at the end yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, there was a press conference for the Canadian Olympic Committee. They basically had a huge calling out saying, we need money, we need funding. And then federal funding has not increased since 2005, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll get Matt's thoughts on that as well, of course. The hockey game. We got the Screw It, Let's Do a Parlay. That is coming up at 2:40. I know where we're going with that one. I'm putting Koob on the spot. Some of you nasties, I don't know if Duck Dad is in the nasty chat, so he'll be able to help with this one a little bit. But the hockey doesn't return until Wednesday. There's been enough basketball done today. Tomorrow there's the return of Champions League, UEFA Champions League. It continues tomorrow on Wednesday. Today and tomorrow, we're absolutely going to be doing a parlay when it comes to the Champions League. I'll tell you the teams when it comes time, Koob. You can make a pick for a winner. I'll make a pick. Actually, if you want to do a player prop, feel free. I don't think you'll go that deep.
No, I don't think so.
But we'll build that. So that's coming up at 2:40. As I said, your thoughts always welcome. 780-218-9999. Or you could jump into the River Cree inbox at 780-218-9999. Okay, let's get into this game. Canada falling Koob, did you end up did you end up waking up for this game? What did you do? Because you went to Megadeth and you said on Reed Show with myself and Jay last Friday, you might not even wake up for this game.
Yeah, I didn't know my plans for consuming the
what
events
did you do?
going into it. So I had a late night. The concert wrapped up pretty late, actually. Like 10:50, I think, was the last song. And then you got to get on home. You got to wait for traffic, yada, yada. 12 o'clock rolls around. I'm still up. 1 o'clock rolls around. I'm still up, but I'm at home. So I go to bed. I set one alarm for 5:50 in the morning. And I've never sprung out of bed as fast as I did on Sunday. So
you watched the game live?
Yes. With my father, side by side.
Nice.
We sat down for 6 o'clock puck drop, wrapped in a blanket, got some coffee and everything, half asleep. And I didn't need the coffee because the game woke me up. It was excitement right from puck drop.
I didn't know how, I'm not a morning person. I didn't know how I would react during the game. And during that game, like, I was nervous. I was intense. When Canada scored, it was like, I didn't scream as like I've done on the Hangout when we're watching it. There was like, I think I just yelled yes but I was like fully into it. And I was actually more into it considering the time of the game than I expected. I also don't recall being as crushed to the loss in some time. I'm not going to lie. I haven't cheered, obviously, just with what we do. We've talked about this before. NHL, I'm not a full fan of the Oilers. So I wasn't crushed in Game 7 2 years ago. I wasn't crushed in Game 6 last year. Like, that's not where I am with my fandom. I had the Miami Hurricanes. I was hurt for the Hurricanes loss. Like, when they lost to Indiana in the national championship game, I was not happy. I think yesterday got me worse.
Wow.
It just... Yeah. And I wasn't expecting that going to this tournament just because of me not being fully into the National Hockey League. Like, again, job, I believe in being a little more impartial. Screw it. Canada, it's like I'm in for Canada, but I didn't think I'd be just like down the whole day. And yesterday I was completely down. I just had no motivation to want to do anything because I was just like, that one hurt.
I felt like that for various reasons. I mean, when I watched the game, the second Jack Hughes got it past Jordan Binnington, I turned the TV off immediately and I went straight back to bed. I didn't even want to think about the game. I didn't want to watch the ceremonies after the fact. I didn't watch that until way later in the day. But when I woke up, that was the first thing I thought of. Got out of bed, talked to my family, and then every so often it would just come to mind the fact that they can pull through. And the first thing that came to mind when Canada lost is the fact that I'll have to hear about this for the rest of my life. And I told my mom that at various points throughout the day. I'm like, all right, this is going to be something that
you won't have to
Americans are going to stand by.
Yeah, but it's 4 years we could change this.
The entire narrative.
You've got at least 4 years.
Yeah,
like, it's 4 years of it, but in the French Alps, we go win. The one thing, I'll say, if you need to counter them, we at least beat them on their home ice. And we beat them in 2010 on our home ice. So, like, you didn't into that. Yeah, okay, fine that you got one on us. We still took it from you. I think one of the thing that hurts also is that it's just like, that is a game. I don't think this is sour grapes. I don't think this is trying to revisionist history or anything like that. Canada was better. Canada just was the better hockey team in that game. The best player on the ice was the American goalie in Connor Hellebuck.
By far.
But after that, it was the Canadians were just like, we heard so much about how good this American team is and how good their defense was and how weak the Canadian team was and how we have roster issues and roster construction problems. And I don't care whether those are right or wrong in the end. Canada tilted that ice for most of that hockey game. And even after it got tied 1-1, like, that third period was all Canada almost. Mm-hmm. The Americans couldn't get it going on the Canadians. The Canadians were getting going. And it's just Connor Hellebuck. He was unbelievable. And then the Canadian, like, Devin Tays. I don't need to explain much more. Nathan McKinnon missing the empty net. Connor McDavid having a breakaway in that game. Macklin Celebrini having a breakaway in that game. There was that play, I think it was Thomas Wilson, where the puck floated above Connor Hellebuck, but I can't remember which defender the Americans knocked it out. And then there was a 5-on-3 for a minute 30, minute 40, and couldn't score. Like, it's all, I think that's what makes it so crushing, is that you watch that game as we're watching. It's like, if couple of things different. Like Canada could have won that game 4-1. Could have won that game 3-1. We don't need overtime. We're just the champs. We're gold medalists. And they blew it, and we get to overtime. McDavid, to me, tries too much. Makar jumps up poorly, doesn't come back well enough. McKinnon can't do it in his own zone, and boom, back of the net. And nothing we could do, and it's over. And TV's off, your TV's off.
And like you said, the story of it, I mean, entering these Olympic Games, it was Jordan Binnington being on the team, and with his stats being so poor at the NHL level for this season, abnormal for a goaltender with those statistics to make it on an Olympic team, by far. But throughout the tournament, he got better and better, and he played a fantastic game. On the 3-on-3 overtime, on the second possession for the Americans, rushed up the ice, off the tip of his glove, cross crease he came across and made another save. So Canada played their best game, I believe, of the tournament as well. They got better than they did from the Finland game. I didn't think that was their best game by far. Yeah. And the fact that they were handed not one, not two, but a handful of opportunities to say, go and take this game. You have this opportunity to do it. And they still fall short. It's bad to say, it's amazing to get Olympic silver. Let's just put it like that. And I think even with this loss, part of me still thinks it's a victory. I wasn't shattered to see that Canada lost. I think my reaction was actually a bit muted because it was 3-on-3 and not 5-on-5. And I know in 2010 it was 4-on-4 and everything, but it felt so much different knowing when they went to intermission, you went to the panel and you're waiting with nervous energy, and it was only 3-on-3. It didn't feel right. Yeah, and I understand where a lot of people are coming from today, that it's only 3-on-3. I know John Cooper had some quotes about it, and we knew that was going in. Like, they think once we found out it was 3-on-3 a couple weeks ago, everyone's like, well, I hope it doesn't come down to this because we don't want this ended in 3-on-3. Yeah. But that said, when we go down the list and say there's McDavid, Makar, McKinnon, we were all sitting there like, we'll take that. We have McDavid, we have McKinnon, Makar. They are 3 of the top 4 players in the world. And the reason it's depending where you want to draw Leon Draisaitl. Leon could be 2, Leon could be 3, Leon could be 4. They might be the three best players in the world then. But they're 2 or 3 of the 4 best players on the planet. They were together. They were on the ice twice. And they couldn't get it done. That's the part. Like, to me, I understand where everyone else is coming from with 3-on-3, that it kind of taints what this is. But we had the better players, and we didn't get it done. And that's maybe why it hurts me more. The other way is, well, you're saying it's just 3-on-3. Like, it's not. And you're right. For me, but we had the better players. We should have won then on that 3-on-3. We should have dominated that 3-on-3 and should have won it on 30 seconds in or something like that. And it kind of hurts that they didn't. Well, and a few of the players too. I mean, I watched both press conferences for Team Canada and Team USA. Some of the players, I mean, John Cooper had strong words about it, as you said. He said, you take 4 players off the ice, now that's not hockey anymore. There's a reason overtime and shootouts are in play. It's all TV driven to end games, so it's not as long. There's a reason it's not in the Stanley Cup final or playoffs. And I mean, having those players like Connor McDavid for the Oilers, him and Draisaitl connect on that. You'd imagine with Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar, they could get it done as well. But yeah, take Connor out of that. Is all right. You have just McKinnon, Makar. Chances back and forth, though, right? And there's not as much defense. It just rushes back up the ice. McDavid might have held the puck too long, tried too much, try and go 1-on-3. Hellebuck didn't have to make a great save in overtime. No. It's very short. Yeah. Binnington made a great save in overtime. So even in there, you got the save you needed from Binnington. Couldn't get it done. Comes back the other way. No chance for Binnington. It's in the back of the net. Canada loses to the Americans. Don't get that gold medal. No. And Connor McDavid's still getting the MVP. Though, I mean, rightly so. Absolutely. There's no argument on if it should have been somebody different. He is by far the most talented player. Even though he didn't get a point in that game, now, foot the other way, foot this way. He was there. He was making the plays. He was driving the offense as he did the entire tournament. And this conversation around Connor McDavid's legacy, he had 0 points in Game 7 of the 2024 Stanley Cup Final. Did it again when Game 6 last year. Yeah, Game 6 last year. and then now this time around having 0 points. I don't think there's any weight now to his legacy. Optically, it could look bad. Oh, well, he can't get it done when it really matters. But he was still in the game, driving that force the entire way through in that final.
And I take a different approach on that one. We're coming up on breaks. We'll get into that a little later. I mean, I'll be intrigued to ask Mick what he thinks, like from an outside perspective. Does this have an impact on what the view is of the current legacy of Connor McDavid, the most talented player in the world? And there's still lots of hockey left in Connor McDavid. He will be, to one degree, it's 32. It's a shame that at his second Olympics he'll be 32. Should be in his 20s at his second Olympics.
He could still make it to 3 more.
This should have been his third Olympics or whatever it is already. Lots of time to still go win a Stanley Cup. But at the same time, he's already been in this league for how many years? And to his credit, all he has is a Four Nations, which we went into that tournament saying it was going to be a gimmick. I understand. I'll get into the feelings later that I have on that, but I do want. This is a thing that happens in sports. I believe it happened with Steve Yzerman, happened with Alex Ovechkin. You could go to NFL, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. There is a thing that once you can't get it done, you wear that as a star, because when you win, you get the praise. So when you lose, you get a little bit of that blame, even whether it's your fault or not completely, you get that. And when you have zeros across the board for 3 big games, I understand why that narrative is now starting to creep up. Whether you agree with it or not, it was always that narrative was going to come, because that's what we do in sports. I do want to get into that a little bit more throughout the show. Again, 780-218-9999. That is the River Cree Inbox Tap 25 restaurant. 50% off the entire menu, available every day of the week from 2 until 5 p.m. We will get with Mick Kearns of Sirius XM next. Later in the show, Matt Cullen from CBC will talk Olympics overall. Matt Iwanyk in for Hernan, Salas, and Joaquin Gage alongside Zachary Koob. We'll get to a Koob Sports update, and then we're on the other side of the break. Mick Kearns to talk more Canada, the U.S., Olympic gold medal game from yesterday here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. You're listening to EST Afternoons live in the William Huff studio in the west end of town.
The Jays are live in spring training action with the Mets. It's top of the 8th. Toronto trailing 4-2 against New York. And both teams entering this game currently 1-1 in spring training so far. 1 out in the inning for the Mets right now. The Jays get back in action again tomorrow, facing the Yankees. And a trio of games out the NBA schedule. The Spurs and Pistons dance at 5 o'clock. San Antonio with 8 straight wins, second in the West, while Detroit leads the East with 42 wins, 5 in a row. After that, the Kings and Grizzlies throw down at 6 before Utah visits Houston for 8 o'clock tip-off. In college ball, it's Louisville and North Carolina on the court. 5 o'clock start for that one. We also see Kansas play host to Houston on an 8-game slate. And according to ESPN, the Falcons are planning to franchise tag 25-year-old Kyle Pitts. Atlanta has until next Tuesday to make their decision on a tag for Pitts, with the 25-year-old recording nearly 1,000 receiving yards, adding 5 touchdowns last season. Mick Kern from Sirius XM NHL Network Radio checks in next. I'm Zachary Koob, keeping you up to date.
The Nielsen Show with Lieutenant Eric.
Luke Gazdick on the Firehouse Subs hotline. The Oilers making the decision to bring Paul Coffey back to the bench.
So I only see it being a positive benefit. I know a couple of those guys really, really like him. And that's really one of the only sentiments I have out of a couple of the guys there, is that they really, really enjoy his presence and having him around. So I'm trying to look at the good as opposed to the bad right now.
The Nielsen Show with Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Sentinel Storage congratulates Team Canada for all their perseverance, dedication, and commitment. For representing our country so well. Our athletes make us proud to call Canada home. Sentinel Storage, proudly Canadian and official storage partner of Team Canada.
River Cree Resort and Casino and K97 present the baddest show on earth. George Thorogood and the Destroyers, March 19th in the venue. Tickets at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it. Looking for flooring? Paramount Flooring has it all. Sales, service, and expert installation with options for every style and budget. Open 7 days a week. We've got you covered. Quick delivery and in-stock deals. Plus, EST listeners get 10% off. Visit ParamountFlooring.ca today.
Real fans don't stroll in at puck drop. They claim territory. They study the screens. They get into their spot, which is why this matters. The Canadian Brewhouse now has happy hour. Brand new. Tons of options. And the good stuff like our 8-inch 2-topping RCM pizza and our signature Caesar. Monday to Saturday, 2 till 6 p.m. starting at $3.99. That's more than enough reason to come early. New happy hour at the Canadian Brewhouse. If you're serious about game day, we'll see you for happy hour.
Return here to EST Afternoons, live right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Iwanyk in for Hernan, Salas, and Joaquin Gage alongside Zachary Koob. Thanks to those texting in. Collingwood Rob, it was Charlie McAvoy, that was the D-man that made that saves of the Wilson puck over. Bruins fan Chris, I'm a Bruins fan. I will forever hate Charlie McAvoy, LOL. I respect that. And I would know how I would get why you're feeling that way. After the Canadians, yeah, you're a Bruins fan, but you wanted Canada to go win that game, and McAvoy, he messed it up for you. Messed it up for all of us. So many moments. I don't know when I'm gonna get over this personally. Like, I can't imagine being the players. A McKinnon, even a Taves, especially those two. Just like, when do you get over that? Do you ever get over that? Is it going to be 4 years from now in the French Alps that will allow you to get over that? It's lots to still dissect, and it's been well over 24 hours since that game ended, and we're still talking about it. And to help us further discuss this from Sirius XM NHL Network, Mick Kern joins us on the phone line. Mick, appreciate the time. Thanks for joining me here on the show today. I'll actually start. Who do you think's sleeping a little bit worse right now? Was it Nathan McKinnon or Devin Taves?
Yeah, maybe both. I mean, they have Stanley Cups. They have a whole bunch of things. McKinnon's going to the Hall of Fame. Taves isn't. He's a good player. But you're right. They're high-octane athletes. This is a gold medal. You only get a chance at it. Well, not since 2014. And most likely, McKinnon will be on the team in 4 years. You don't know about Taves. So it does bother you. How can it not? Because you're made to win and to have the chance on your stick. And neither guy... I mean, Taves didn't do anything wrong. That was an amazing save. Yeah. I guess McKinnon is the guy that messed up. But, I mean, he's on Tim Hortons commercials on TV for a reason, because he's a really good hockey player. It's just one of those things. I know that's the one I groaned at watching here in Toronto. It's not the Taves. I thought, hey, great save. Hellebuck, we know he can do that. Maybe not in the playoffs, but he can do it. And, it's the McKinnon one that I went, oh, we're going to regret that one.
Overall, like, there was a lot of great opportunities for Canada in that game. For you, ultimately, America wins the gold medal. They'll forever be the champs. They will always have to be remembered as the champs, because it's ultimately they got that second goal when Canada couldn't. But do you see it also, though, that Canada outplayed the Americans? And McKinnon, I know it's a part of a larger quote, but Canada was the better team today. And in essence, is what he was saying. Do you agree with that? That in terms of yesterday, was Canada better than the Americans?
Yeah, but this game.
Yeah.
Who scored the most goals? That's the winner. I'm not taking anything away from the Americans. That would be sour grapes. If they played a best of 7, Canada probably wins. If they play a best of 3, Canada might win. We don't know, but we all knew it was a one-game scenario. And here's the thing. I actually thought Binnington played well in net. Hellebuck played a little better, but I don't have this on Jordan Binnington. This isn't his fault. Canada couldn't score in the second and the third. From the 2 periods on, they dominated. They had a 5-on-3, didn't they? They couldn't score, and they couldn't. I was, in this day of analytics, you just don't throw the puck in the net, it gets blocked to go the other way. But there were times it seems Canada overpassed the puck, and I thought that for the entire tournament. Like, you take it. No, you take it. No, I'd rather you score. And I just want to just shoot the darn puck at times. I'm sure others were thinking the same thing. Easy to say in retrospect, because if they shot it was blocked, we'd say pass it around. They're in a no-win situation in that case. Yeah. On every metric outside the scoreboard, basically, maybe goaltending a little bit, Canada was the better team, but we don't have that. There's a reason at Edmonton and Calgary and in Kamloops and in any small arena, there's one big stat on the board. It's the score. The team that scores the most goals is the best team. Now, if this was an 84 game schedule and the States had won that game, say it was, it was a Sunday afternoon in the middle of February in a season, they go, okay, we got things to work on. But a one-game scenario, we bow to the champions.
Yeah, I think that's well put there with Mick Kearns from SiriusXM NHL. Okay, for the Canadians, how big of a loss in the end was it to not have Sidney Crosby and Josh Morrissey? And who do you think, if they could have had just one of those two players yesterday, who do you think would have been the bigger difference maker to maybe have the Canadians win that hockey game?
For the tournament, Josh Morrissey, because he was a puck-moving defenseman like Cale Makar, and the other guys weren't. And that's where Edmonton fans would go, well, Evan Bouchard would have fit in. Well, yes, maybe he would have. But I think for the game yesterday, Canada didn't have a problem getting the puck out of the zone. They dominated for the second and third period. Maybe Crosby's that it factor that puts it over the line. So for the tournament, I wanted Morrissey. That's a shame they lost him after the first, or halfway through the first game. But for yesterday's game, I wanted that Crosby. I didn't see the team panic. I think Connor McDavid had an excellent tournament. But I'm going to go to my grave, hopefully not, soon, wondering what they thought in overtime. Like, even if you had Crosby and Morrissey, John Cooper still putting out the same three guys, and they seemed like they were playing like we got to score in the next 10 seconds or this game's over, while the States patiently played the counterpunch game and picked up the 3-on-1. And when they had the 3-on-1, I don't know about you, but I sat there and went, this is over. And then it was in the net. So I'd rather have, for a one-game scenario, I want Crosby there, but I'm not sure in the overtime would have made much of a difference.
Unless the one counter I would maybe is because you have Sidney Crosby, John Cooper knows he could maybe trust Sidney Crosby out there a little bit more.
Maybe.
Or the other thing, because I think your assessment of 3-on-3 is very accurate. It seemed like to me, at least, I'll focus a little more on McDavid there. It's like it's like, I have to be the hero. I have to go do this.
Right.
And maybe overdid it. And then that led to your point where the Americans then went the other way. Whereas if maybe Crosby's on the bench, maybe those guys go, okay, we want to be the hero, but there's other guys that could go do this. It's not just on us. That if we just have to be smart, and then Crosby's coming over the boards if we can't get it done, and we know he could get it done. So I wonder if maybe just the presence of Crosby maybe in that overtime does settle things down from those guys who haven't really, they've never experienced at Olympics level, and McDavid, McKinnon, and Makar.
It's a good what if, again, and that's what we love to do in sports. You may be correct. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm perplexed that they didn't take their time and set it up and watch the counterpunch. I thought it was going to be a slow dance for the first 3 or 4 minutes. They went for it, and it didn't work. The thing is, too, we make a big deal about how deep this Canadian team is in point scores. And yes, Celebrini, McKinnon, and of course Connor McDavid, the top 3 of the 4 point getters right now in the NHL at that break. Okay, well, where were the depth scorers then? Marner scored a big goal. Yeah. Suzuki had a couple goals, big tying goal. But if you only trust those 3 guys, and we know McKinnon was not playing at 100%, you could see that even though he had some big goals. Well, then I don't know. I still don't understand why they thought they had to go for it in the first 10, 20, 25 seconds. If you couldn't, then you had all these other guys. I don't know. Maybe they just feared the Americans. 3-on-3 is crazy, as you know, though. Yeah, I mean, John Cooper is saying it's not really hockey. Okay, well, yeah, but we do it in the NHL and overtime in the regular season just to get the games in. I wish it had been 5-on-5, but everyone knew the rules going in, so we can't complain. I thought I expect more from John Cooper. I've interviewed a number of times, so I have a lot of respect for him. He's in the moment. I get that. So I guess it's basically kitty bar the door. If we don't get the chance, the Americans are going to come the other way. But I would have played it personally safer, but that's easy for me to say. Then, you know what? If we played it safer and the Americans scored, we would say, well, we didn't even go for it. So
that's true. Hindsight 2020 is always something else.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I will go hindsight 2020 here. What do you make of the roster that Doug Armstrong made? Was this because, we look, and if Taves scores or McKinnon scores, we're likely looking at a gold medal for Canada, and we're saying, well, they built the right team. Just like the Americans, and I know there's a lot of criticism of them, but they win, and Bill Guerin, he built the right team, but Canada lost. So what do you make of the team Doug Armstrong built, and how many changes would you think that they would have liked to have gone back and maybe made had, they had all this, the information, hindsight 2020?
Not very much. They lost by one shot.
Yeah.
So Bill Guerin's a hero today, and good for him. I said that on air. He can just stick his tongue out at everybody and said, "Look, I did it." If Canada had look, let's also be honest here. Canada, our team got a little lucky in the 2 playoff games. We were playing behind, and I'm still not sure that Brad Marchand goal should have counted. I can debate that forever. Doesn't matter. It did. It's the NHL. If it was the NHL, it'd be a coin flip on any given night, right? We know that with goalie interference. So we got some breaks. In Finland, they're not very happy with us. They probably were the one other nation cheering for the States yesterday. I think it was a fine lineup. I don't think there are enough puck-moving defensemen, and when went down, that led to a challenge in those playoff games against Finland or Czechia and Finland. But in the U.S., it wasn't a problem. Canada dominated for the last 2 periods. They just couldn't put the puck over the bleeping line like there was plexiglass in the way. And I don't think any lineup change is going to change that. Unless you had like El McInnes in his prime just blasting the puck, I don't see how anything would have changed. The goaltending didn't let down. I think the American defense, they were the best defensive team in the tournament. They didn't give up a power play goal. And we had this awesome power play. And they didn't give up a power play goal the entire 6 games they played. There's something to be said for that. Yeah, Evan Bouchard, he plays a role. I still risk and reward. I do like him. Zach Hyman, but I'm not even sure Zach Hyman would have put the puck in the net. I don't think Phil Esposito and Guy Lafleur in their prime would have put the puck in the net. It just wasn't going in. So they're going to fiddle with 4 years from now, as you know, is an eternity. A lot of these guys are going to age out. There will be no new goaltending. Connor McDavid, health being an issue, if it is, as they're older, he'll be back. These guys will be back. Connor Bedard will be there. I heard that too a lot. What if you had Connor Bedard in the lineup? Well, John Cooper wasn't going to start the overtime with Connor Bedard. Yeah. He was still starting with these guys, and the puck was still going in the net. Connor Bedard just would have been on the bench.
You're very accurate.
Unless he scored early. Unless he was
on the ice. Yeah, right? That'd be the only difference. I think there's a lot of hope still. We're still Canada, and there's a lot of good young players that 4 years from now, as you say, long time away. But we'll be a good team in 4 years at the French Alps, and there'll be revenge on the mind of some of these guys. Mick, greatly appreciate the time. Thanks for your insight, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Any day, thanks.
Mick Kern, SiriusXM NHL Network. He joined us right there on the Oil Country Towing Hotline, brought to you by Oil Country Towing, Edmonton's most trusted 24/7 roadside rescue team. Call 780-986-6088 for all your towing needs. I don't know if we had enough snow today that you might need some towing, but maybe you do. Give Oil Country Towing a call if you have any sort of needs. Iwanyk, Zachary Koob with you here. Coming up at 2 o'clock, we're going to continue the Olympic talk, obviously, on some hockey. But we're going to talk a little bit of the overall Olympics at 2. Matt Cullen from CBC will join us. As Koob, I know you said before the show, you have nothing to watch right now. And it is a little... I've got Manchester United, Everton, Premier League action, Monday Night Football action on right now. But it does feel like today, hangout and stuff, it just felt...
empty. Yeah. It feels empty because you expect it. Something's on the horizon. Usually when we all set up in here for EST afternoons, 1:10, there was usually a hockey game or already something going on. There was final. It was a great time to be on air because the
bullpen would always have. You guys would have generally the Olympics on with the main TV having the EST shows on. Mm-hmm. It just feels empty.
Well, the curling was on, and then we put the speed skating up. So many updates. I mean, that was the hardest probably I've worked. Here at EST was doing those updates for the Olympics, but just suggest it's the most Olympics that I've ever watched. I've probably caught at least one full event, if not the highlights, every day, and I'd put the time aside to try and watch. And of course, we're here working during those events.
That helps. It also, the time zone helps. The last 2 were awful time zones for us. In Beijing and Pyeongchang were just, everything was dead middle of the night.
Yeah, completely lopsided. What was the earliest, I guess, start for, say, a
Canada hockey game would be it could be 3 in the morning for a preliminary game, or be 9, 10 o'clock at night, which wasn't too bad, but the main stuff. Like it was other things. There was happening completely overnight.
Yeah, the meat of it. Yeah.
Sorry, I have the hiccups there for a second. But now you've gotten the Italian one, and then the next winter one. Well, actually, the next ones, you've got Italy that was just finished. So then we go to LA for the summer, which is going to be wonderful time zone. 2030 French Alps, similar times. And I think they're 7 hours ahead, not 8. So actually, we gain an extra hour.
Yeah. And then it's Brisbane?
Then it's Brisbane. Yes. So that's going to be an interesting time zone one for us. I don't remember 2002. Like, there'll be some interesting times for that one. I think it'd be more afternoon or evenings, like late afternoon things might get started. And then we're in Utah for the winter, which is, again, our time zone. So we've got some wonderful time zones coming up.
Nice.
But again, it just seemed like a very solid Olympics that went off. You know, I don't know of any real scandals. Outside of curling.
The acid thing with the skiers, the injections.
Oh, yeah.
That was the one.
We have that. We had the curling thing.
Yeah, Mark Kennedy.
But doping-wise, like, in terms of performance enhancers, I don't think outside of that other one that you mentioned. I think it was just a solid. It seemed like it went rather well. Even the concerns of the rink. There was no issues with the rink overall. I know the ice maybe didn't hold up as well throughout that tournament, but...
Definitely in the corners, I noticed some of the play. I mean, Marchand probably fell every shift when he got on the ice. There was a couple moments there where it was like, ooh, near the wall, maybe it doesn't look too good, but you don't know unless you're on the ice, and I didn't really hear anything about it from the players. Like the ice makers, I saw some interviews on that, and they were saying that it was some of the best ice they've ever made in that short span that they got. Props on them actually getting it done, because that would have been terrible. I know some things early on were postponed and things like that. There was a norovirus as well early on.
Yeah, Finland.
For the women's hockey as well. But, you know,
Canada, but it just seemed like it went off rather well. So Matt Cullen will join us at 2 o'clock. When we come back, we'll get into the inbox. Both River Cree as well as the Nasty Chat. We'll get to a Coop Sports update first. Matt Iwanyk filling in for Hernan, Salas, Joaquin, Gage here on EST Afternoons right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Here's Koob with a sports update. Then we're back with your thoughts and texts.
In spring training, it's top of the 9th inning between the Mets and the Blue Jays. Toronto trailing 4-2 in that one. 2 outs so far. New York at bat, and a trio of NBA games on the schedule tonight. The Spurs and Pistons dancing at 5 o'clock. San Antonio with 8 straight wins, second in the West, while Detroit leads the East with 42 wins, 5 in a row. After that, the Kings and Grizzlies throw down at 6 before Utah visits Houston for an 8 o'clock start. College ball, Louisville and North Carolina on the court for 5 o'clock. We also see Kansas play host to Houston on an 8-game slate. And according to ESPN, the Falcons are planning to franchise tag 25-year-old Kyle Pitts. Atlanta has until next Tuesday to make their decision on a tag for the 25-year-old, with Pitts recording nearly 1,000 receiving yards, adding 5 touchdowns last season. This sports update is brought to you by Windsor Plywood Leduc, locally owned and operated, serving Leduc and surrounding areas since 1993. They're more than just plywood. They offer everything from doors and flooring to decking, fencing, and custom millwork. Windsor Plywood Leduc, they're the experts you need to know. EST Afternoons rolls on after the break. I'm Zachary Koob Kubusch, keeping you up to date.
EST Hangout.
I understand both sides of this, but this defender saying that just says that when McDavid gets shut down, he doesn't have supporting cast. But the other side to that to me is the best players, the greatest of all time. When we're talking about the greats, not just an average player. We're talking about the greats here. When we're talking about the Messiers and the Gretzkys and the Crosbys, they elevate in those moments.
The EST Hangout, presented by Sentinel Storage. Weekday mornings 9 to 11, only on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
Hey Edmonton, did you know a local Play Alberta winner scored over $430,000 on Desert Fantasy? Think about the rec room you could build with that kind of cash. From major casino winners every hour to jackpots worth millions and hundreds of popular games to money that stays in the province, there has never been a better time to sign up for Play Alberta. Download the app today to get started with casino, sports, and lottery, all in one app. Must be 18 plus to play. When you gamble, use your game sense.
Edmonton, be part of history. Support Canada Soccer's men's national team as they battle Uzbekistan in the final send-off series ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m. at Commonwealth Stadium. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.ca.
At Firehouse Subs, our subs are freshly toasted, stacked high, and crafted to satisfy. Each sub is piled high with premium meats, melty cheese, and toasted to perfection. Firehouse Subs brings bold flavor to every bite, all served on a freshly toasted roll. But we're not just feeding Edmonton, we're fueling it. Dig into the brisket hat trick, piled with slow-smoked brisket and melty cheese. Or go to the Firehouse Subs fan favorite, the Hook and Ladder. Made to order with smoked turkey, honey ham, and Monterey Jack cheese on a perfectly toasted roll. With 15 Firehouse Sub locations across Edmonton and the greater area, it's easy to grab a hot and hearty sub close to home. Firehouse Subs. Hot, hearty, made to satisfy.
Time for a new career in 2026? Or maybe your kid is still pondering their path. Good news! Weiss Johnson is hiring. It's Dennis, and not only are we hiring for heating and air conditioning, we're also looking for experienced plumbers and gas fitters. With the growth in residential development, there's no shortage of opportunities at Weiss Johnson. Choose your path with us. Learn from one of the industry leaders, and we will grow together. Receive great benefits and school reimbursement as well. Visit weiss-johnson.com today.
Looking for quality building materials and friendly advice? Visit us at Windsor Plywood Leduc, family owned and locally run since 1993. From interior materials for doors, flooring, baseboards, and all the finishing touches to all you need for your outdoor projects like cedar lumber for decks and fences, plus all the plywood you'd need. Our full-time on-staff carpenter can help with anything odd-sized or custom, and from domestic hardwoods to exotic selections, we've got you covered. And if we don't have it, we'll track it down for you. Windsor Plywood Leduc. We're the experts you need to know.
Return here to EST Afternoons. Iwanyk, Zachary Koob with you here on this Monday. Reminder, the Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne coming up at 3 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. On the show today with Reed and Jay, it's Jamie Thomas, as well as they have Marty Biron. Martin Biron. Lots to get to. Yeah, get his take on how brilliant Connor Hellebuck was yesterday. And it's like, it does take away from Jordan Binnington, who had a great, bad first goal. I think he'd want that one back. I think Taves and Makar would want that goal back as well. Not the best first goal. I would argue that maybe Hellebuck didn't want to give up that Makar one. That was one he'd maybe want back a little bit, but gave up the one goal. There's nothing in overtime, but he made a lot of great saves even in that game. Binnington kept it a 1-0 hockey game, kept it 1-1, and ultimately even in overtime he kept it 1-1 with one big save, and then he just couldn't get it done. He answered all the questions when it comes to goaltending. That said, he's 32. There's no way he could be our goalie 4 years from now. It's a huge problem that we have. Logan Thompson's only 28, so maybe it's him. But who is the next goalie for Canada? And does the thing, we had Marty Biron to Roberto Luongo to Carey Price. There was always the next guy. Sorry, I'm just removing something from the chat. There was always the next guy. But going into this, we didn't know who that, it was kind of default. Jordan Binnington, who played well at Four Nations, played well here. I guess he's the front runner to maybe be the World Cup in 2 years. I don't know if I'd want. I think it's time to get the next person ready. To me, World Cup in 2 years, I want to be getting ready for the Olympics 2 years later. But we need a goalie to step up here in Canada.
And is he going to be too old though? Because goaltenders,
in 2 years.
In 2 years, you just said he'll
be 30. He'll be 34 in 2 years. He could be World Cup.
Goaltenders can play a little bit longer though, but you don't want your starting netminder, say makes it to the Olympics, to be 36 years old.
No,
right?
No, not unless we're talking to Marty Biron at the time. I don't know how old he was when he went, but even then in 2010, he faltered and it ended up being Roberto Luongo taking over.
So there's nobody that really sticks out. There's I don't know, maybe a couple. Yeah, it would be Logan Thompson would be the next big one, and then I think it's a massive drop off.
Well, you consider Dealer J. Have we seen the 2030 Canadian starting goalie? Have we not met this goalie yet? And the one problem I have is why don't we have how come we don't have a number one contender that we just feel good in? Like it was, if I go back to 2002, our goalies were Curtis Joseph, Martin Brodeur. I forgot who the third goalie was. It wasn't Patty Waugh. Patty Waugh chose not to go. I think because he wouldn't be a starter or whatever. But that's who our goalies were. And in 2006, it was Marty Brodeur. But we knew that, in 2010, it was Roberto Luongo who ended up taking over because he was there. And then it was Carey Price after that. And in those times, we knew who that next goalie or who our goalie would be. How come right now we don't know? We don't feel confident. Okay, well, it's going to be Logan Thompson's net. Unless something changes. Unless that other goalie pops up. We don't have that number one contender. And it's sad that we've seen a drop-off in goaltending development in this country.
Well, because Canadian goaltenders used to be the superstars of the league. Like you name that Carey Price and then Martin Brodeur.
We'd at least have one.
Roberto Luongo. There was at least one in the top 3 goaltenders in the league, right?
I guess, yes. If you had Carey Price, Roberto Luongo, yeah.
If you compare it to the NHL.
But I just want something like the top 6, 7.
Yeah, somebody who could lead a team through the NHL or in the NHL.
That I just feel really good with.
You put him on the spot anytime. And that goaltender in 2002 was Ed Belfour.
Eddie Belfour was the third goaltender. Scott Thompson, Binnington was a shockingly good goalie considering what the Blues are. Canada needs a goalie to grab net. And that's what they we also have to remember that when you're playing for Canada, you're going to be behind one of the best teams in the world, just in general. And that's why I wasn't always worried about Binnington because he was like, well, we'll see what he can do behind this Canadian team. And we saw it. So it doesn't have to be someone too perfect, but I just would like a little bit more confidence. Ultimately, in the end, the Americans as a forward and defensive group, maybe they would argue, if you put some truth to them, wasn't their best performance yesterday. But they had that goalie behind that just made those extra key saves. I guess we had that kind of with Binnington. I would like to sit here today and even know I said a name. This is our 2030, and we all were just like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I could live with that at this point. If 2030 started today, we don't know who it would be. If we're at the next Olympics, I
think right now it's Logan Thompson.
Yeah, that's the leader. I mean, Duck added in the comments saying Sebastian Cossa, who he played one NHL game. Okay.
Yeah, he has a 928 in the AHL, which maybe, but the AHL is different from the NHL. We've seen Connor Ingram do well in the AHL or do poor in the AHL and come up and do well in the NHL. We've seen a guy like Jordan Binnington do poor in the NHL and do well at the Olympics.
It's just not
They're
the
different
same.
leagues.
Yeah.
But maybe,
in 4
I hope.
years of development, it's a little different, but there's a pool. There's a handful of goaltenders you could take right now saying, okay, he might have an opportunity to contend for that spot in the future, and it'll filter through. And I wonder, it makes me curious, though, if the same sort of conversation we had leading into these Olympics will be had in 2030. Because there's various names. Does Jordan Binnington even go? What about the Lumberyard, Mackenzie Blackwood, Scott Wedgwood? You just go with those guys who are rolling hot right now, who have had good seasons previously. But even comparing it to America, I mean, there's Dustin Wolf, Logan Cooley has had a surge in the NHL regular season. Jeremy Swayman's still young. Connor Hellebuyck's probably still going to be just as good as he is right now, though he is an older goaltender, I guess you would say, in his early 30s. But there's not that same strength compared to even our neighbors down south. And you look at some of the goaltending from overseas. Sweden Jesper Wallsted's apparently the best goalie of all time now. I know he's came back down to earth since his start in the NHL, but there's still younger goaltenders in other countries. Russia has fantastic goaltenders. Yaroslav Askarov, unbelievable goaltender who's going to be a superstar in the league by far. They have Vasilevsky, Sorokin. You can go down a list of goaltenders for Russians and even the Swedes.
Yeah, but they don't have
defense.
defense.
Guys. But that's the thing. The rest of the team.
But you're right on the goalies.
Does not match up.
Caster 1990. Canada's the superior firepower, but the Americans have the better goalie and better D. Once again, defense wins championships, or in this case, tournaments. And that's the crazy part is, like, yeah, there's the great save on Devon Toews, but McKinnon hits the net and we win. You know, and it's like that's how tight of that game was. Just what was the expected goals for? I think it's like 5 point something to 2 point something.
Yeah,
Canada should have basically won 5-2.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, yeah, and in the end, I guess it did. But I look at it like that the Canadians, to a degree, also we just didn't have that finish that we needed. And it was all there. That yeah, they had the better deep, but like even when we had Mick Kern, like who did they need more yesterday? Josh Morrissey or Sidney Crosby? They brought up a great point. They didn't have problems getting out of their own zone. They didn't have problems getting into the offensive zone and getting their chances. They had good defense in the end. They only gave up one goal through 60 minutes.
Oh man. And now, like looking at the goaltending performance of Hellebuyck, that was the most saves that he's made through the entire season so far. And he hasn't had his greatest season in the NHL. Let's just put that frank. The Jets haven't been the team that they were last year, President's Trophy winners, but he stopped 41 on 42 shots against.
He's brilliant.
It was an amazing performance to see. And I don't know, going back to it, I guess sort of bittersweet to see the celebration of Johnny Gaudreau, and they brought his jersey out on the ice and his family as well. That was nice to see. And just, the overall, I guess, response and respect in that sense to celebrate him as a player, because so many players on that U.S. team, it was hard to, I guess, say you hate the U.S. for winning that, and my Canadian bias right there. I gotta bleed red and white, but overall, like I wonder how. And Huss had this conversation on the Lock Shop with Jay earlier, where did Jets fans really feel anything? Like, are you like, oh man, Connor Hellebuyck played great, but they beat that American goaltender beat Canada, but can he do that in the regular season? Will he come back and find?
Can he do that in the playoffs? Because he hasn't like that. We have a text that I want to get to a little bit later in the show. Hellebuyck had to live with not coming up in big games. Hellebuyck has to live with for a while just not producing in the playoffs. And there were questions going into this tournament whether Hellebuyck should be their starting goalie. And he answered all those questions. And had they lost yesterday, maybe those questions would have come back up. The guy can't get it done still in the big games. If Nathan McKinnon scores that, puts that puck in the back of the net as opposed to missing the net, maybe there's he couldn't make that extra save. Binnington outplayed him type thing. The narrative changes just slightly, but that is just one of those all time. Like that's the memory that we're gonna all, when we think of Connor Hellebuyck, we're always gonna remember that one game.
And Reed said it very well on the Oil Stream. He'll be that will be the one thing remembered for the rest of his life. That's the
first thing that goes, as he said on the obit. To Dan, stop already with the coulda, shoulda, woulda. It's just the game. Everything will be okay. Time to move forward. Well, it's also generally what happens is you recap and you discuss things in the immediate aftermath. If you'd like, I could go into the first half of Manchester United versus Everton that's going on Monday Night Football.
Well, spring training.
We don't have a lot of Oilers to get to, and we talk enough about the Oilers that I think recapping one of the greatest hockey games that we have seen in a long time,
the greatest I've seen in my life,
I think that's worthy of a day of programming. But yeah, it's 0-0 Manchester United Everton. Not getting their chances, United, in my mind. They're out in Everton, so it is an away match. Really need these 3 points. Michael Carrick hasn't lost yet as the interim manager of Manchester United. So we're paying attention, but it is halftime. We'll see what adjustments Michael Carrick wishes to make for Manchester United as they look to try to secure those 3 points and keep their spot alive in the top 4. Even though 5 spots will get you Champions League, I'd like Manchester United to finish in the top 4. So we'll see if that continues to keep going. So we'll continue with that if you would like to Dan.
All right, that's enough soccer talk for the first hour here, Maddie.
We're waiting for the first hour because we will be getting to it a little bit later for the Screw It. Let's do it. He's Zachary Koob Kubusch. I'm Matt Iwanyk. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to EST Afternoons. Portions of this hour of the Hangout of EST Afternoons. It is brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Pizza Sunday's back at the Canadian Brewhouse. After 4, grab an 8-inch two-topping pizza for just $9.99 and wash it down with $6.99 doubles or $1 off Bud Light tankers. Well, Dad's back. Love that content. Thanks, pal. If you love it, I'm happy with you because I know not everyone loves when I get into the soccer talk. So if you're being sincere on that one, well, thank you. Thank you very much for that one. We will get to a break. We'll get to a Coop Sports update, and then we'll get to Matt Cullen of CBC. We're not just going to look back. It may be late. We'll talk a little about the Canada game, but I want to get Matt Cullen's thoughts on the Olympics overall, on Canada's performance at the Olympics, and where we maybe go from here when it comes to the Winter Olympics. He's of CBC. He'll be joining us next year on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. This is EST Afternoons.
The Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne.
You put good juju out there for Team Canada tomorrow in curling, and then Sunday in that gold medal game, we're going to bring home 2 gold medals because Jay put the good juju out there. Let's do this.
Have a great weekend. Sunday, gold medal game.
Let's go, Canada.
Go, Canada. Let's go.
The Reed Wilkins Show with Jay Milne, weekday afternoon 3 to 6, only on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports.
The road to the FIFA World Cup runs through Edmonton. See Canada Soccer's men's national team before they take on the world this summer. Canada versus Uzbekistan. June 1st, 7 p.m., Commonwealth Stadium. Tickets at Ticketmaster.ca.
You've heard the name, but what does it mean? For over 66 years, William Huff Advertising has supplied signage from screen printing to digital to LED with design, production, and install in-house. It's a one-stop shop for all your signage needs. Edmonton owned and operated, William Huff has been trusted by the biggest companies and teams in the City of Champions and many others across the country to do the job. If you're looking for a way to get the word out about your company or event, they are the answer. Go to www.williamhuff.com. Their results speak for themselves.
River Cree Resort and Casino and K97 present the baddest show on earth. George Thorogood and the Destroyers, March 19th in the venue. Tickets at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it.
Real fans don't stroll in at puck drop. They claim territory. They study the screens. They get into their spot, which is why this matters. The Canadian Brewhouse now has happy hour. Brand new, tons of options, and the good stuff like face-off fried pickles and steins of Bud Light. Monday to Saturday, 2 till 6 p.m. starting at $3.99. That's more than enough reason to come early. New happy hour at the Canadian Brewhouse. If you're serious about game day, we'll see you for happy hour.
The Jays have lost 4-3 to the Mets in spring training. Toronto now 1-2 in the Grapefruit League, while New York improves to 2-1. Jays get back in action tomorrow against the Yankees. And a trio of games dot the NBA schedule. The Spurs and Pistons dance at 5 o'clock San Antonio with 8 straight wins. Second in the West, while Detroit leads the East with 42 wins, 5 in a row. After that, the Kings and Grizzlies throw down at 6 before Utah visits Houston for 8 o'clock tip-off. College ball, it's Louisville and North Carolina on the court. 5 o'clock start. We also see Kansas play host to Houston on an 8-game slate. And according to ESPN, the Falcons are planning to franchise tag 25-year-old Kyle Pitts. Atlanta has until next Tuesday to make their decision on a tag, with Pitts recording nearly 1,000 receiving yards, adding 5 touchdowns last season. I'm Zachary Koob Kubusch. That was your sports update. Hour 2 of EST Afternoon starts right now.
Back here in The William Huff Studios in the west end of town since 1952. William Huff has provided industry-leading advertising solutions for thousands of value clients. Check out their website, williamhuff.com. Give them a shout, 780-454-4536. Matt Iwanyk in for Hernan, Salas. Joaquin Gage here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, alongside Zachary Koob Kubusch. Later in this hour, we'll do the Screw It, Let's Do a Parlay for Play Alberta. We will be looking at some Champions League, and we will continue in the River Cree inbox at 780-218-9999. As well as in the nasty chat. Obviously, a lot of discussion so far today in regards to Canada's loss to the Americans yesterday in the gold medal game for men's hockey. But also yesterday was the closing ceremonies for this Olympics, as these 16 days came to a close. Actually, a little bit longer with those events that happened prior to the Olympics. We good to go, Coop? We are good to go to bring in our next guest. And joining us from CBC, Matt Cullen joins us on the Oil Country Towing hotline. And Matt, greatly appreciate the time. Wonderful work by you and everyone with CBC for covering those Olympics. Overall, when you look back on these Olympics of the last 2 and a bit weeks, what are your impressions of what came out of Italy? Because from my end, it looks like it was a seemingly well-run Olympics. Oh, I think we might have you muted there. Oh. Got a little bit of mute. Okay, we'll come back to Matt there right away. I'm just going to... I'll be very fascinated to see his thoughts. Canada, actually, that's one thing I was going to pull up. So apologies to everyone on this one. But our final medal count, we do win 5 gold medals. 7 silvers, 9 bronzes, 21 total. We did have 1 extra gold medal from 2024 or 2022 in Beijing. We had 4 gold medals in that one. We get 5. Brad Gushu's rink. Actually, when we're thinking about all the certain things, there was the curling controversy. The bad boys of curling, they go get it done, which is pretty cool when it comes to getting that gold medal. And it was just absolutely wonderful. El Presidente, hope we get more medals in the next Olympics. Yeah, and I agree. I think in Beijing, we had 4 gold medals, so we improved there. But I believe our overall, we had 26 medals. And at this past Olympics, we went to 21. So there was that big difference or that change there. We've got Matt now. Let's go to Matt now on the phone. We're going on the phone here. Let's change on the fly. That's how things go. Matt, greatly appreciate the time. Once again, I'll just go back to that initial question. Just your thoughts on what the Italians did at the Olympics and how well of a job, or your thoughts on what type of job they did hosting those Olympics.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was a pretty smooth Olympics. So from a well-run standpoint, I mean, there was obviously some initial angst about the ice hockey arena, the Santa Giulia, and if it was going to be done and what the size of the rink was going to work out okay. But as I've learned from doing now 6 Olympics, this is usually pretty standard. There's usually something that's going to create some controversy. There's some sort of problem leading up. And in the end, the Italians had a terrific home Olympics. And I think that if you look at from a Canadian perspective, you have to look at some ups and downs, some great performances from some Canadian athletes. Anytime a Canadian can win a medal, that has to be celebrated no matter what color it is. And I think if you take a step back and if it's a silver or a bronze, you maybe realize that in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, maybe it's a year down the road, like how much of an accomplishment that really is. And obviously 5 gold medals, which is obviously something worth celebrating as well. 1 more than 4 years ago. Even though the medal count, though, is a little bit down from the last couple of years, I think you have to look at this as probably an up and down games would be the way that the best way that I could describe it from a Canadian perspective.
When you look back on these last couple of weeks, and it doesn't have to be Canadian, do you have some favorite moments that you witnessed or you maybe personally called or a story that popped up from these Olympics?
Yeah, some terrific moments. I mean, I called a lot of the ice hockey, so I'll start with that. I really loved the way that Juraj Slafkovsky, Montreal Canadiens, he's only 21 years old and he continues to bring his game bring his best really at the international level. He had 7 goals as a 17-year-old playing in the pandemic Olympic Winter Games in 2022 in China, and he scored a couple more here, 3 more to go along with that. So he's now in double digits for Olympic goals, and he's only 21 years old. I think that was a really terrific story. Love the Italian performances as well. A couple of those medals in the early going, particularly on the long track. I mean, Loro Brigida, who won Italy's first gold medal. I mean, that was an outstanding moment. I remember watching that one as well, and lots of great performances for the Canadians on the ice track as well. Because without short track and long track in some cases as well, I think the medal count would have really been in trouble for the Canadians. But some great moments. Love the women's hockey final as well. Like when it comes down to one shot for the gold medal, I mean, that's pretty well as close to a coin flip as you can get. And both the men and the women ended with the same score in the same scenario in overtime. Thought that those were really entertaining games, really entertaining tournaments from an entertainment perspective. Obviously, Canadians will hope that things bounce a little bit differently, and Connor Hellebuck could have given up one in the third period, and same with Aaron Franklin, the American net. But that's the way the puck bounces sometimes in hockey. So it'll be a long 4 years in hockey. There's no doubt about that, with the Americans having the bragging rights until 2030.
Overall, what were your thoughts of that game yesterday? The Americans get the gold, but Canada played really well. Your takeaways from that game yesterday?
You got to bury your chances.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. When you have chances like that, when you have a 5-on-3, when you have a late power play, when you have a couple go off the post, when you have a paddle save, at some point you just know that's going to come back and bite you. The hockey gods just don't let you get away with that kind of thing. And obviously it was a tough one to give up. I thought that Nathan McKinnon on that back check there, I mean, it's easy to pick at the postmortem here, right? But he was first to that puck, ended up turning it over to Zach Werenski, who's a terrific hockey player, and set up Jack Hughes. Great day at the office, by the way, for Jack Hughes, right? You lose a couple of teeth in a high sticking penalty, and then you score the Olympic winning gold medal goal.
It's so hockey.
That's a good day for a hockey player, if you ask me. Obviously a terrific hockey game played by the Canadians. I mean, they did everything right except Connor Hellebuck just decided to have the best day probably of his career. I mean, so many playoff letdowns. If there's any fans of the Winnipeg Jets out there, right, you know that he's played his best in the regular season, where he's been a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner, and the playoffs has kind of been the thorn in his side. But he brought his best for that Olympic gold medal game. And yeah, like I said, I mean, Nathan McKinnon puts a shot 2 centimeters over to the right, goes posting in. We're talking about a different result here, right? Like, it just was so fine and so slim, the difference between the two teams. Obviously, a great hockey game. I think it's great for the sport as well. Yes, the Americans did win, but obviously, the sport's still growing and is down the pecking order in terms of football and basketball and baseball south of the border. But it only helps if there's more eyeballs on this sport. And I think that from both tournaments, really, particularly on the women's standpoint as well, I thought there's a lot more parity this year. We saw the Swedes and the Swiss put together some pretty good tournaments, and the Finns and the Czechs. Like, that's what the women's game really needs, is another strong power, not just Canada and the U.S. So I think from a hockey's perspective, it really, entertainment-wise, it went as well as it really could have. But obviously, Canadians will hope that the puck bounced a little bit differently there, which is heartbreaking for sure. And a gold medal game to lose like that just doesn't get much closer.
Especially for that, just waking up, we're all getting ready, and then you have the rest of the day.
6
just
a.m.
to think
puck drop in Alberta is a tough one.
Yeah, and then it's like it ends at I think it's like 9 o'clock when ending. You're just like, well, I have the whole day to think about this one, as opposed to like if you lose at night or something. Okay, I'll go to bed. I'll wake up. It's a brand new one. We're with Matt Cullen of CBC here, just looking back on these Olympics. Yesterday, you mentioned 5 golds versus 4, but our medal count from 22 to 26 overall that dropped. I know the Canadian Olympic Committee, they had a little bit of press conference. I believe it was yesterday, and there was a call to action going. We need funding. We need more. Where do we go from here? Because 2010 is a memory a lot of us still have about how great it was. I think it was 14 gold medals. It was just a wonderful 2 weeks. And now, like last Olympics, only 4, gold medals, which seems just small. And now we go to these Olympics and we saw the medal count drop. Where do we go from here when it comes to more specifically the Winter Olympics? Because at least on the summer side, like we've seen a growth on the summer side, but it seems like we almost maybe going backwards a little bit on the winter side.
Great point. I mean, I think the Canadians expect Canada to be and the world really expects Canada to be a winter sport superpower from the years that we saw. I mean, 2010 was the crowning moment, the Vancouver 2010 games. Everything seemed to fall in the Canadians in favor of the Canadians in that game, in that Olympic Winter Games. And I think we're a long ways away from that now. I mean, I thought that Pyeongchang in 2018 was another great showcase for Canadian winter athletes with 29 total medals that year, but it's crept down. And actually, the 21 medals is the fewest medals in 24 years. Canada had 17 in Salt Lake City. Happened to be fourth in the medal table that year, just with all of the gold medals. But it's been 24 years since Canada has not had this few medals, which is a bit striking to think about. And yeah, there was a pretty serious call to action from David Shoemaker, who's the head of the Canadian Olympic Committee, and saying, We're declining was his words. We're in decline right now, and that's because he's worried about funding going forward. He's worried about infrastructure going forward, and he's also worried about the age of the athletes. A lot of these Olympic medalists are now 30, 35 plus, might not be around for the 2030 Olympics in the French Alps, and then going forward, obviously with Salt Lake City coming back with Utah in 2034. So I think there is a lot of cause for concern, and we had the movement to own the podium that was put in place after Salt Lake City, and there were some good results that came out of that. And it was a good 3 or 4 Olympics where Canada really excelled in the top 5, right up there with Norway and the US and other countries. But we saw the emergence of some other countries, and there's no doubt about that. Just like in hockey, the rest of the world is getting pretty good at winter sports. I mean, the French were terrific. The Germans as well had a really strong Olympics, and Canada has a bit of soul searching to do. And it's not an easy answer, right? Because cost of living has gone up across the country. There's no way to dispute that. So where does the money come from, right? It's a tricky problem to have, but I think that this Olympics will open some eyes, and over the next 4 years, I hope that we can find some answers to some difficult questions.
So for you personally, like, is it easy to get off of the Olympic routine, or is it when you wake up every day now, or like, is it like today when you woke up, was it, what am I calling, or, a little bit of sweat that, I'm not prepped for something, and realizing Olympics is over? How did things go for you now?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, 16 days of competition, and there's day -2 and there's day -1 in there, right? So it's a little bit over that. But yeah, today was all about the recap, right? So I still feel like I'm in Olympic mode here a little bit, but quickly we'll turn the page over. I'll actually have the chance to be on the ground for Milan Cortina and the Paralympics coming up, and those are some of the best untold stories in sports. Athletes have had to come across and overcome so many difficulties, and some that we can't even imagine. So I can't wait to cover para hockey coming up, and my flight's 8 days away. So I got to get ready for that.
Shucks, got to go to Italy. That's what a pain. Matt, greatly appreciate the time. Thanks so much, and enjoy the Paralympics. A wonderful job again throughout the Olympics, and we look forward to the coverage of the Paralympics.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
There's Matt Cullen of CBC. Helping us look back on what was a wonderful Olympics. It does help that time zones for us here in North America makes it a little bit easier to watch. But it also then, when we see a drop in medal count to 21, when we see only 5 gold medals, and a lot of them coming a little bit later. Like it was a Sunday last week. Was it Sunday was the first gold, I think it was, and we got like 4 straight days of gold medals, I think it was. There was cause of concern throughout that first week of what's going on, and it's an interesting dilemma, because without going fully into politics here, obviously, we know that there's budget crises across the board and across provinces. Do we want to, as a nation, focus money and put money towards sports? Which, though, there's a value to it. If you commit hundreds of millions of dollars towards your athletes, there is a sense of national pride, which does have a value. There is an actual value, both internally, but also nationally or internationally, of when you are having success, people pay attention to that. And then there is a level of value to that. Is it one, though, that would be able to be stomached by a large portion of Canadians, and knowing that there's money going to sport of a significant margin, with infrastructure, with athletes and things like that? Or do we say, well, no, we have too many other problems that we don't want to focus on those things? But those questions need to be had, because I will defend that the summer games, we're seeing a growth. We're going to see Summer McIntosh in 2 years be one of the stars of those. The women in the pool, our men's basketball team hopefully could bounce back from a couple of years ago in Paris. We've got a lot happening in sport than we used to. But we are a winter nation, and we should be higher when it comes to the winter. I think most people would expect and want. And it is a bit of a concerning that Matt, they're saying a lot of our medalists, that they're older, not expected for 2030. So who are going to be medalists? It did seem a lot of the favorites going in that we even had, though. They this is something like we're saying on McDavid. They didn't rise to that challenge in the biggest game. And didn't get it done on gold medal day or whatever it might be. William D'Angelo, somebody on this show, I talked about it. He was supposed to be going to get a bunch of medals. Didn't end up getting a bunch of medals. What happened there? So that there has to be a big review of this. This one needs to go away. Sorry, I need to remove it. It's completely wrong, that message that from the nasty chat. I'll just throw that one out there. We have to figure out where we go from here. So, TOC, they usually at the end of these Olympics, their press conference, there's a lot of positivity. This one was a little bit of an alarming one where it was, no, this isn't a positive time. We need stuff. We need money. And maybe the answer to this, which maybe it is hosting another Olympics. I don't like the money of hosting Olympics. I don't like the idea of what the IOC expects out of their host cities. And I think it was maybe good that Calgary turned down these specific Olympics. But maybe in the end, it actually, when you have those Olympics, you want to be like Italy, like we were in 10 as well, where you're the host and you want to do well. You want to have massive medals, massive amount of medals, a medal haul. That's so you in turn invest into your athletes. Maybe that's the next thing. We need to go invest into the 20. If Switzerland doesn't want the 2038 Winter Games, maybe we need to definitely go for it and try to get that. And I know the COC threw that out there as well, the start of the turn, but at the end, going maybe we need a host. We need to host the winter. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Dave the Welder, how much money does Norway put into their athletes? They consistently win the most at Winter Olympics. I'd have to pull up the details for tomorrow. I did read a lot about what Norway does when it comes to developing their athletes. It's an interesting model that the Norwegians have, just sports overall. Part of it does include not keeping score at a young age, and giving everyone participation trophies, legitimately. That's actually part of what the way of they do things out there. But they have a different rationale behind that. And I wonder if I can find, I don't know if I'll be able to find it in the next 40 minutes, but maybe I could find it and bring it up a little bit tomorrow. But there's a lot of different ways to look at. Norway's one that, we can from a Winter Olympic perspective, but what else is Norway good at in a sense? They're going to the World Cup in soccer. They're not exactly known for a hockey team. They're not exactly known for a lot of other things. This is what they're known for. It's like Canada's always been known for hockey. We're still known for a lot of other things too. Like we're great in the pool. We're great on the track, or we've gone pretty good on the track. We're good in basketball. We've actually seen a rise in soccer. We're still good at hockey. There's a lot of events that we actually are quite good in, which I would put up against, Norway's dominating a couple of disciplines, but it's not like they're the best at a bunch of others. So I don't know if they're necessarily always the only one, because even before funding, we're always going to be good at hockey. There's just two medals for hockey.
If there was more events for hockey, Canada would take so many. There's so many opportunities for skiing. I mean, looking at Norway this year at the Olympics, 18 gold medals, 41 total. They had 14 medals. 7 of those medals, so half their medals in cross-country skiing were gold. 14 total medals in that one event alone.
Maybe we just need to focus. If we're focused on the wrong disciplines.
Yeah.
Which one have the most medals, and we need to focus a little bit more on that one. Screw everything else. And we're good at curling. We're good at hockey. We ended up getting 4 medals out of 5 of them available at the Olympics. But there's only 5 of them available through those 2 disciplines. Well, and in cross-country skiing, how many were there?
total for Canada?
No, just possible medals. 2026 Olympics.
Well, there's
Because
so
it's
many.
same, like in the Summer Olympics, there's so many medals given out from the pool.
Yeah, there's small variations in each of them. One less lap. Or
There's 12 medals given out in cross-country skiing. There's 10 in alpine skiing. Just on those two alone, that's 22 medals that are awarded. The only disciplines with more, freestyle skiing is at 15, snowboarding's at 11, speed skating's at 14.
A lot.
There's a lot given out in those disciplines. And
Yeah, no
Norway's
kidding.
found a way to take advantage of, or not take advantage, but they've gone. I felt like somebody came knocking on the door. Oh, do you hear that?
I'm hearing that too. Yeah, somebody's banging around.
Okay,
It's the Gremlins.
I'm not insane. Here it is from Collingwood Rob. Norway does not keep score until age 13. They spend about $115 per athlete, while in Canada we spend $8. Now, with that though, is how many athletes are they funding versus the $8? The $8 that we're spending versus the $115 per athlete. On average, is they're spending about $8 per athlete. We're spending $8. They're spending $115, which is significant more.
Right. And they only have 6 million
They also
people.
have less people that they're having to pay on than we do, and they have money.
I mean, they're quite the nation. Yeah.
But maybe that's the one study that we need to focus a little bit more on and go, why are they doing that, and what can we take from them?
Well, I remember getting participation trophies growing up. I'd always place 4th in a tournament or something, and you'd always get a little. It's like one. Every Olympian this year got the little plushie. I don't know the name of the mascot, but every single one who made that podium finish or whatever, or at least the clips that I saw, there was a little plushie, like a keychain of little polar bear or something like that. Maybe everybody needs to get that at all levels of sport.
Plushies.
I mean, if it happens in the Olympics, right?
I was a kid with a lot of plushies. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Still going to stand by that one. In fact, the thing is that some of the sports Canada is good at, we're only allowed one entry. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's those team ones that those are the ones we're good at, and you can only get so many medals. So we'll have to. It would be nice to have a little bit more national anthems that we sang, and it would be nice to have just more medals. Hopefully, we can figure out things for 2030, 2028. Though high hopes for it, especially with Summer Macintosh. We're late to break. Iwanyk, Zachary Koob. When we come back, we'll continue in the inbox. We'll continue in the nasty chat as well. And then later in this hour, the Screw It, Let's Do It parlay. That's all to come here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton Sports, presented by Play Alberta.
NHL news, Josh Morrissey will miss at least one game for the Jets after going down with an upper body injury in Canada's opening Olympic game against Czechia, Winnipeg. Plays Vancouver on Wednesday with Kevin Lankinen of the Canucks, possibly missing that one due to flight delays. According to ESPN, the Falcons are planning to franchise tag 25-year-old Kyle Pitts. Atlanta has until next Tuesday to make their decision, with Pitts recording nearly 1,000 receiving yards, adding 5 touchdowns last season. And earlier, the Jays dropped a 4-3 decision to the Mets in spring training, dropping to 1-2 in the Grapefruit League. They challenge the Yankees tomorrow afternoon. A trio of games dot the NBA schedule. The Spurs and Pistons dance at 5 o'clock. San Antonio with 8 straight wins, second in the West. Detroit leading the East with 42 wins, 5 of which in a row. After that, the Kings and Grizzlies throw down at 6 before Utah visits Houston at 7:30. And in college ball, it's Louisville and North Carolina on the court for 5 o'clock. We also see Kansas play host to Houston on an 8-game slate. This sports update is brought to you by the Capital Care Foundation. Financial support deeply affects residents at Capital Care, whether it's a one-time donation or monthly contribution. Every penny counts. Find out how you can donate at capitalcarefoundation.net. The conversation continues after the break. I'm Zachary Kubusch. and you're up to date.
When you cater with Royal Pizza, you're getting the same great pizzas, pastas, and salads you love, just bigger and built for a crowd. Perfect for teams, offices, or parties, Royal Pizza's catering brings real value around $10 per person. Delicious, high quality, and easy. If you like their pastas, you'll love their catering pastas even more. Visit royalpizza.ca or contact your local store for exact pricing and details.
So come on home, Royal Pizza, still making it great.
Sentinel Storage congratulates Team Canada for all their perseverance, dedication, and commitment. For representing our country so well, our athletes make us proud to call Canada home. Sentinel Storage, proudly Canadian and official storage partner of Team Canada.
River Cree Resort and Casino and K97 present the baddest show on earth. George Thorogood and the Destroyers, March 19th in the venue. Tickets at rivercreeresort.com.
River Cree Resort and Casino. Excitement. Bet on it.
Edmonton. Be part of history. Support Canada Soccer's men's national team as they battle Uzbekistan in the final send-off series ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m. at Commonwealth Stadium. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.ca.
Hey Edmonton, did you know a local Play Alberta winner scored over $430,000 on Desert Fantasy? Think about the rec room you could build with that kind of cash. From major casino winners every hour to jackpots worth millions and hundreds of popular games to money that stays in the province, there has never been a better time to sign up for Play Alberta. Download the app today to get started with casino, sports, and lottery. All in one app. Must be 18 plus to play. When you gamble, use your game sense. I think does it sound like kids?
It sounds like. No, I was gonna
MGMT, like it.
Yeah.
I gotta go play those two next to each other. Like as I was playing, I'm like that's a very kids vibe to it. I think that's the song I'm thinking. Matt Iwanyk in for Hernan and Gage alongside Zachary Koob Kubusch here on Edmonton Sports Talk, clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Reminder, Reed Wilkins Show, Jay Milne coming up 3 to 6. They got Jamie Thomas. They also have Martin Burron on the show today. They're also going to be looking a little spiffy. Just going to tell you, if you don't have for Reed Wilkins Show and Jay Milne for that show today, you're going to be wanting to watch it today, not just listen to it. They're looking pretty good today. Also, a reminder, March 14th, it is the Heavy Hockey Showdown in support of SACE, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. Team EST taking on Team Hello Hockey. Team EST, we're looking to defend our title. We're raising funds for SACE, a wonderful cause. They do some great work in our city. Please donate to our team. If you can go to edmontonsportstalk.com, at the very top, it says Heavy Hockey Showdown. You click the link and donate for us there. At some point, maybe next week, we're going to auction off a chance to coach the team. Maybe we'll have 2 coaching spots open. You'll join me on the bench. Dusty, Tom, Zach, Trev, Benny, my brother, Tom's brother. They will all be playing on our team as well. It is a wonderful cause. Great time. March 13th, also at the Ice House downtown. There's a wonderful little party, pre-event party that will take place, $10. HeavyHockeyNetwork.com. Is where you can go to get more information. HeavyHockey.com /Heavy Hockey Showdown is where you can get more information on that one. But we greatly appreciate any donations that you can make to our team. Again, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Very top, it does say Heavy Hockey Showdown. We're in the William Huff studio here on the west end of town. By the way, Matt Cullen, he joined us on the Oil Country Towing Hotline. Fast, safe, reliable for over 15 years. Call 780-986-6088. Want to jump into the nasty chat? Chris Perper had this comment. Did want to get to it a little bit. Hellebuck had to live with not coming up in big games. Sadly, this might be McDavid's hat to wear. I know this has been coming up quite a bit now in the past 24 hours. Here's what I have to say for McDavid. Look, his story's not finished. His story's his resume isn't over. There's lots of time to go win Stanley Cup still. There's lots of time to still go win Olympic medals. He'll be 32 at the next one. He could be there at that one. He's still very much possibility of being at Salt Lake, and then 4 years after that, which might be in Canada or Switzerland. I wouldn't be shocked if he's there at the age of 40. There's still quite a few more Olympic opportunities. But I also do understand the idea that when you start looking at legacy, I don't know if anyone that's putting the blame on Connor McDavid for yesterday, but they're starting to look at the legacy. And you look at Game 7 Stanley Cup Final, it's 0 points 2 years ago. Then you look at Game 6 last year, elimination game, 0 points. And then you look at the gold medal game yesterday, it's 0 points. And I think Duck Dad, spoiled something. Hey, Manchester United scored. I'm behind. He said goal, and I didn't know which way it was. Manchester United's up 1-0. Sorry for that. Sometimes I could be a squirrel. And when we go down and we look at history and you try to break down the all-time greats, having those things matter. Winning things matter. And yeah, it's easy to say, well, but what if Devon Toews scored? Or what if Nathan MacKinnon scored? But they didn't. And in the end, he lost again and he didn't have a point. And then there's the other argument that could be made where it's, well, this shows that when you shut down Connor McDavid, he doesn't have a supporting cast to pull him. And that's what he has to deal with. But but that doesn't help because that doesn't help the argument to me, because when you are great, you have those games where you transcend and you can't get stopped. That there's nothing stopping you from claiming that title. That a lot of great players go do that. And it might be just not a great game, but that one moment. Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, like the defense of Connor McDavid fully right now is that, well, he had the Four Nations goal. Connor McDavid didn't play great at the Four Nations, though. But we talk about, well, he has that goal. But he actually didn't play that great. But that's how quickly everything could just be forgotten. You just need that moment. And the Four Nations isn't something that if Connor McDavid ultimately, again, I still think he has a full career, a lot of career left to go get these things. But if he walks away without a gold medal or a Stanley Cup, we're not talking about the Four Nations title. We're not talking about that for his career. When we're talking about, okay, who are the greatest of all time? And you're comparing him with Crosby and with Gretzky and with Lemieux and all those guys, you're not going to just be going, well, he's got the Four Nations. So, and there's a lot of guys on that Canadian team. They have a Stanley Cup to their name. McKinnon, McCart, they at least have a Stanley Cup to their name. And that's the thing. Like McDavid is getting into this territory where, Ovi and the Caps dealt with it. Can't get it done. The San Jose Sharks under Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau can't get it done. They're just the biggest chokers. Constantly getting there, but can't get it done. And now McDavid's gotten to a moment where in the three biggest games, and he has stepped up in other big games prior to that, but when it mattered, when it ultimately it's largely do or die for the chip, if you will, whether medal or Stanley Cup, 0 points, 0 points, 0 points. It's not great for legacy discussion. And at some point, you have to have that game where you transcend and you just take over and you finish it off. And, even yesterday, he had breakaway, didn't score. He had the puck multiple times in 3-on-3 overtime, didn't score. So while you could blame the other ones, he also had a chance to go win it, and he didn't get it done. And I'm not saying it's completely fair to put this on him, but this is what happens when it comes to sports. And if Connor McDavid was a different player, if he was a member of the Calgary Flames in his career, he wasn't an Edmonton Oiler, and this was happening, or if he was a Vancouver Canuck or Toronto Maple Leaf, this is what we would be saying here in Edmonton about him. Wow, this guy maybe he just can't get it done. But because he's an Edmonton Oilers, an extra defense, and I completely understand that. But you also have to understand that there is this has now happened enough times that when you look at the career of Connor McDavid, if his career ends the way what has happened so far, like if his career ended today, one of the things around him would be an unbelievable, most talented player we've ever seen in hockey. But a guy that also just ultimately couldn't get it done in the biggest moment.
And at this point, it's not a one-off. It is a pattern. 3 times you're now creating a pattern for yourself. In the conversation surrounding his legacy, you bring up if he was a Toronto Maple Leaf. Well, Austin Matthews had that cloud over him for quite some time, and the Toronto Maple Leafs curse and Marner leaving. Now Matthews is a winner. Hellebuck entering the tournament had that where he couldn't finish it off in the playoffs. There's those players from different teams, but being in this market, because it is Connor McDavid, it is hard to try and pick on him.
It's hard to rip on him because he's our guy. Well, Kelvin Van Dessler, so Matt Tkachuk is a bigger star than 97 because he has some group hardware. Don't think so. No. I didn't say, I'm not talking about just any player. Henry Richard is not the greatest hockey player ever because he has 11 Stanley Cup rings. I'm talking about when we're breaking down and talking about some of the biggest players. Matthew Tkachuk is not going down, and we're not putting him in the conversation with Sidney Crosby when all is said and done, or even if you want Alex Ovechkin with the Lemieux and the Gretzkys and the greatest that have ever played this game. We're breaking down who is, again, if we just the easy, who's the Mount Rushmore of hockey type thing. We're not putting Matt Tkachuk in that conversation. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's better than Connor McDavid because he's won those things in the team game. But when you're trying, okay, who's better between Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid? Whose career will be better in the long term? It's those conversations where it's going to be right now. It'd be Sidney. The guy's gotten done. He has 3 rings. He's got 2 gold medals. The guy's won at everything. When we're talking about those top ends, that's kind of where to me, what breaks the tie for these great players. And I'll go like, hey, it's a basketball question. Who do you want at the end of a game? You go, a couple seconds left on the clock. Who do you want to take the last shot? And a lot of people will be MJ. Dusty will say it's LeBron. Other people will say Kobe. Who do you want that last shot? Like those type of questions. Okay, you have, one game. Who do you want to ride with to go win yourself a Stanley Cup? I'm taking right now. If it's like I'm going to look Crosby versus McDavid. I'm taking Crosby.
Oh,
I've seen the guy do it, and that's where I'm coming. I'm not talking about just any old player, but I stand by. If Connor McDavid was playing for a different team, we would be saying the exact same thing about him, or that other people from out of this market are saying on Connor McDavid.
And I think the reason it's so difficult to see it this way is because you can see how much he wants it as well. And he was on the brink of it 3 different times. It was 1 goal game. Just couldn't get that 1 point. And like you said, it's that one moment.
Gretzky rose in those moments at times. Lemieux's risen in those moments. If you want to be better than them in a way, you've got to reach those plateaus too. And Kelvin, that's my point. Tkachuk isn't the greatest player, not even close. But what is that? What does Tkachuk have to do with anything of this? My point is that like when we're comparing the greats of the greats, I'll come back at you, Kelvin, like Crosby or McDavid in a way. Yeah, I trolled. Didn't someone on the Hango say it's Montana versus Marino? Same argument type thing. And in that way, like Dan Marino is one of the greatest quarterbacks ever played. Never won a Super Bowl ring. It's one of the reasons he's lower when it comes to all-time greats. But when we're breaking down some of the top players, when we put them there and you compare their resumes, it comes down to their legacies and what did they do. And when it comes to the other great players, they've gotten it done.
Yeah, you can win as many individual awards as you want. Get another Hart Ross trophy. But in the end, it won't matter. Even if he sets a record for anything, breaks another Gretzky record or sets his own record multiple times. If there's no ring or gold medal at the end of it all, he'll be the next Marcel Dion, where he's a fantastic player, but just could never win.
And I will say there's still, once again, lots of hockey to be played for Connor McDavid's career. To go get the 1, 2, 3 Stanley Cups. There's lots of time to go get 1, 2 more gold medals or gold medals. And this all changes at that point. Yesterday, yes, if he scores on the Great Bear or if McKinnon scores, we're not having this conversation. It's not brought up. It's that fine of a margin.
It really is.
But if his career ends, if he decides that he actually loved living in Italy so much or being in Italy that he's going to retire after the season to go live in Italy full time, the thing would be, okay, what's the legacy of his career? And one would be in the big moments. While he was great getting to that big moment, in the big moment, it never stepped up in that way. Or he just got shut down, which and when you're talking about greats, you don't want to say greats got shut down in those moments. They find a way. Kevin Van Dassler, he's got 97, is supposedly missing Olympic gold and 2 Stanley Cups, will never be in the Hall of Fame. Oh, Matthew Tkachuk will be in the Hall of Fame. I will say that, though. Matthew Tkachuk will be a Hall of Famer. He's not going down as one of the all-time greats in that top echelon. Matthew Tkachuk will be a Hall of Famer. I'm pretty sure.
If he retired today, he would make it.
Anthony, I don't know which text you sent in.
Yeah, I was trying to look for that as well.
Okay, Gumby. This might be the stupidest debate I've ever heard on your station. No one on the team showed up for the game except for Binnington. Sure, McCarr got a goal, but him and Taves let a guy walk through him for a goal. That we're not talking about the game specifically. It's about legacy and what goes down on him, on those players. McCarr has a Stanley Cup ring to his name. Nathan McKinnon has a Stanley Cup ring on his name. There are many players that don't, or that have Stanley Cups to their name that were on Team Canada, and Haas brings it up. It took Steve Yzerman 13 years to win his cup. Absolutely. And there were questions around Steve Yzerman prior to him finally winning that cup about, is this guy capable of getting that done? That's what happens with legacy conversations. Still more time to go do it, but he hasn't gotten there yet. But Gumby, I'm not talking about specifically yesterday's game, where I'm not putting that game on McDavid. No one's putting that game exclusively on Connor McDavid. We're talking about specifically the legacies. And you mentioned McCarr there. He has a ring. That changes things. All it takes is one thing to change things. And Connor McDavid is still missing, and 0 points, game 7, 0 points, game 6, 0 points, gold medal game. That's the thing that he has. And Luke in Countdown, totally agree. This conversation was happening with Steve Yzerman until he won in his 13th year.
Well, and for a guy of his skill level, compete level, passion for the game, he was wearing the C in place of Sidney Crosby yesterday as well. For a guy of his level, it's almost expected that he would have won at this point of his career, even though he had still so much left to play. He could play until he's 40. Sure. He can have that longevity, but it's still, he's halfway, maybe just about halfway through his career now. And 3 opportunities where you can show up and be that guy and turn the tide and take it in your own hands. It just hasn't happened. And it's sure like a foot this way, a foot that way. Like you said, the margins are that fine. But it's the fact that it hasn't been done. And there are so many what ifs around it. Even in that game yesterday, though, like you said, it's not just him. It's other players as well. That, okay, Connor McDavid was there. He couldn't get it done. And the question still around Marner as well for the Maple Leafs, talking about a player in another market. He wasn't able to get it done in Toronto.
Yeah.
And he up and left. And Austin Matthews, the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, captain of Team USA, had the same cloud around him. So it's not just Connor McDavid, but he is the most skilled player, and that's why it's so mesmerizing.
The conversation would be a little different too, though. Like if game 7 a couple of years ago he had 3 points and they still lost,
then it would have been
right. But it's dashes across the board in those, and that doesn't help when it comes to that legacy conversation. And again, I know in this market it's not a comfortable thing, but most people want to have a conversation with because he's your guy, and he's your boy. And he is the most talented player we've ever seen play hockey, period. And he was the true MVP of this tournament, without doubt. But in the end, he needs to go find that championship. Otherwise, this is going to keep coming up. And greats, when they get that moment, they rise and they step up in a way that, you know, there's no stopping them. It doesn't matter about their supporting cast because they're getting it done. And that's, 1 time, whatever, 2 times, okay, 3, now, okay, is this part of who you are type thing? And those are the questions coming up. We've got this day in history. We got Screw It, Let's Do It coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talks on EST Afternoon. Iwanyk in for Hernan, Salas, and Joaquin Gage. We'll get to a Koob Sports update and be back on the other side with the final segment of the show for this Monday.
NHL news, Josh Morrissey will miss at least a game for the Jets after going down with an upper body injury in Canada's opening Olympic game against Czechia. Winnipeg plays Vancouver Wednesday with Kevin Lankinen of the Canucks possibly missing that one due to flight delays. According to ESPN, the Falcons are planning to franchise tag Kyle Pitts. Atlanta has until next Tuesday to make their decision, with the 25-year-old recording nearly 1,000 receiving yards, adding 5 touchdowns in 2025. Earlier, the Jays dropped a 4-3 decision to the Mets in spring training, dropping to 1-2. That's their record. In the Grapefruit League, they challenge the Yankees tomorrow. And 3 games dot the NBA schedule. The Spurs and Pistons dancing at 5 o'clock. San Antonio winning 8 straight. They're second in the West, while Detroit leads the East with 42 wins. 5 in a row for them. After that, it's the Kings and Grizzlies throwing down at 6 before Utah visits Houston at 7:30. In Toronto, they're in action, battling OKC tomorrow. In college ball, Louisville and North Carolina hit the court at 5 o'clock. We also see Kansas play host to Houston on an 8-game slate. The final segment of EST Afternoons brings us back following the break. I'm Zachary Koob Kubusch, keeping you up to date.
When gambling, set a budget before you play. Stay informed and visit GameSenseAB.ca to learn how. Remember, if you gamble, use your game sense.
The road to the FIFA World Cup runs through Edmonton. See Canada Soccer's men's national team before they take on the world this summer. Canada versus Uzbekistan. June 1st, 7 p.m., Commonwealth Stadium. Tickets at Ticketmaster.ca.
Real fans don't stroll in at puck drop. They claim territory. They study the screens. They get into their spot, which is why this matters. The Canadian Brewhouse now has happy hour. Brand new, tons of options, and the good stuff like our 8-inch 2-topping RCM pizza and our signature Caesar. Monday to Saturday, 2 till 6 p.m. starting at $3.99. That's more than enough reason to come early. New happy hour at the Canadian Brewhouse. If you're serious about game day, we'll see you for happy hour.
You've heard the name, but what does it mean? For over 66 years, William Huff Advertising has supplied signage from screen printing to digital to LED with design, production, and install in-house. It's a one-stop shop for all your signage needs. Edmonton owned and operated, William Huff has been trusted by the biggest companies and teams in the City of Champions and many others across the country to do the job. If you're looking for a way to get the word out about your company or event, they are the answer. Go to www.williamhuff.com. Their results speak for themselves.
At Firehouse Subs, our subs are freshly toasted, stacked high, and crafted to satisfy. Each sub is piled high with premium meats, melty cheese, and toasted to perfection. Firehouse Subs brings bold flavor to every bite, all served on a freshly toasted roll. But we're not just feeding Edmonton, we're fueling it. Dig into the brisket hat trick, piled with slow-smoked brisket and melty cheese. Or go to the Firehouse Subs fan favorite, the Hook and Ladder. Made to order with smoked turkey, honey ham, and Monterey Jack cheese on a perfectly toasted roll. With 15 Firehouse Sub locations across Edmonton and the greater area, it's easy to grab a hot and hearty sub close to home. Firehouse Subs. Hot, hearty, made to satisfy.
We're turning for the final segment of EST Afternoons. Iwanyk in for Hernan and Gage. Alongside Zachary Koob, we got to get to the skirt. Let's do a parlay shortly here for Inside the Numbers for Play Alberta. Download the app, visit them, playalberta.ca. To Chris, you guys seem like it's all on McDavid. Come on, dudes. It's a team game. He can't play 5-on-1 and win. Quit linking him to, quote-unquote, his career is if he didn't win this Olympics. But it's combining the 3 things, Chris. It's not specific. If that's all it was, then it's not linked. But there are 3 moments that but more specifically, others have pointed to, which is 0 points in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, 0 points in Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final, 1 2 years ago in the clinching game, the other last year in a clinching game, and then 0 points in a gold medal game. 3 moments, 2 of them specifically, to go win a Stanley Cup or a gold medal, or 1 game to force a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup, 0 points. That's why they're all getting linked together. Why isn't this conversation for McKinnon, McCarr? Because they have a ring. Why isn't this conversation for, it can't be Crosby because he's not there. Why isn't it a conversation for anyone else on Team Canada? Because no one cares about anyone else on Team Canada, quite frankly, when it comes to the great conversations. But at least McKinnon and McCarr, they have a ring to their name. So it didn't matter that, McKinnon, whether he was sick or not, blew it yesterday. Blew it in multiple opportunities yesterday. Blew it with the empty netter, blew it on the 3-on-3 overtime. Doesn't matter that Cale Makar blew it by getting blown past for the first goal on Boldy and blew it on that overtime goal. for their legacies, they will always have that ring on their finger that they will be. Well, they were able to get it done together in Colorado. I'm not specifically putting this just on the one game. It's when you combine those other three. It was dash, dash, dash when it came to points in those games. And yeah, I don't care that Gumpy saying that, well, McKinnon, just because, if McKinnon hits the net after that feed from McDavid, it changes things. Well, it does change things then. It does. But McDavid also had a breakaway and didn't score, and had the puck on his stick twice in overtime and didn't score. And to Smitty the Welder, no, Four Nations doesn't mean anything. It's Four Nations. It was a big moment politically for things, but we went into that tournament saying it was trash. And if Canada lost the Four Nations, we would be sitting here saying it's a nothing tournament. If Canada lost last February, we would not be praising the Four Nations in any way, shape, or form. Let's be serious on that. We need to move on. Fire the music.
Let's do it, no delay. Let's take a risk today. No sense being safe. We need a huge payday.
That just abruptly stops.
I know. I gotta.
No, you don't have to. Screw it. Let's do it. Duck Dead. Where did he say? Where was it? I saw it here. Champions League. Screw it. Let's do it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
we're doing
baby.
a Champions League one. 4 games tomorrow. When we're on the air, they'll be kicking off. So it's perfect. And then we could do one for the next days. 4 games tomorrow. Actually, I got to quickly pull this up because we got 4 minutes. So 2025-26 Champions League.
What's the playoff?
I've got it. We're into the knockout phase. Winners move on to the round of 16. There's some teams with byes into the round of 16. But we've got Atletico Madrid taking on Club Brugge tomorrow in Atletico Madrid, or their home. It is 3-3 on aggregate. Newcastle, they are taking on Karabag. They are a Azerbaijan club. Newcastle's up 6-1 on aggregate. Milan and Glimt, I'm just going to go with, Milan is down 3-1 on aggregate, so they need to win by 3 to get the direct advancement. Otherwise, we're going to penalties. And then you got Leverkusen and Olympiacos, Bayern up 2-0. So, Koob, did any of those fancy you to start? Because I know where I'm starting.
Okay. So just those 4 matches?
That's all we have to pick from. So you can pick home, away, you can pick a draw, or you can pick a player prop if you're really feeling good about that one player you've never heard of.
Well, I've Leverkusen.
Leverkusen?
I'm feeling them.
Okay.
Over.
So you're taking them winning?
I'll take them winning.
So they are. It looks like they're home. So you're going to take Leverkusen to win. Here's what I'm going to do.
Win probability, it says 53%.
If you have anything, jump it into the nasty chat. I know Raider Jesse had one idea, but it was already kind of where I was going. And I am looking at Inter Milan. They lost 3-1 to this Norwegian club who has played like 3 games. They like shut down because of the Norwegian winters. So they've played like 3 games. They're all European games. Yeah. And they've beaten good teams. That's all that they've found a way to have beaten. But they have to go to Milan. Milan's up or down 3-1. I am taking Milan on the spread -1.5. I'm going to throw Milan -1.5. So right now we got Leverkusen and Milan -1.5. Does anyone have anything else that they want to throw in? If you have something on the nasty chat or you want to jump in to the River Cree inbox, feel free. Otherwise, it'll just be a 2-legger. Thank you to Vincenzo, by the way, saying Maddie just spitting facts. And then Bruins Chris, I agree with you. And then also has a few more on those things along those lines. So appreciate that. But I also understand why people would be upset with me and think that I'm wrong with that. And I totally get that. I totally get where you're coming from on those as well. But do we got anything else? Do we got anything for... Because if not...
This is going to be exciting regardless. So they both start at 1.
The
show starts, right?
They do start at 1. Madrid, Bruges is 10:45. Newcastle's at 1. So do we want... You want to... Unless somebody has a take on a Madrid or Bruges... Let's just throw Newcastle in there.
Yeah, why not?
Because then that's plus 215 before a boost.
Oh, okay.
And that would be the screw it, let's do it parlay.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pronounce half of these names here. They got, Juventus. Which Canadian soccer player plays on Juventus there?
Jonathan David.
Yeah, isn't he?
But they play the next day. They're going to play Wednesday, so we can
correct.
deal with that tomorrow.
Okay.
On the screw it, let's do it parlay.
I'm looking forward to it.
Smitty TM14 is not happy that I'm here, I think. This will be a fun week with an eye roll. It will be a fun week because I enjoy working with Koob and I don't get to do it a lot. Duck Dad, I like it. I'm riding. We'll get that to the Play Alberta crew. What do we have? Tomorrow, what do I want to get to? Well, at some point this week, I do want to get to some spring training discussion. There was talks this weekend about maybe Max Scherzer and the Jays intensifying to bring him back. So we want to do that. I do want to get into the NBA. And then obviously the Oilers are returning. So there'll be a lot of Oilers later on this week. No question about that. So lots to come throughout this week. I'm in for Hernan, Salas, Joaquin, Gage throughout the entire week alongside Zachary Koob. Up next, Reed Wilkins, Jay Milne. Once again, you'll want to watch them on YouTube as opposed to just listening. They look pretty good today. You might want to give them a little look. They've got Jamie Thomas. They've got Mathieu Biron on the show today. That's all to come from 3 until 6. And then Hernan and Gage they're back on with Trev on the morning show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to EST Afternoons and contributing. Whether you're with me or not, I appreciate you tuning in and interacting with me on the show today. Koob, excellent job on the other side of the camera. On behalf of Koob, I am Matt. Thanks for tuning in to EST Afternoons live from the William Huff studio. Reed Wilkins, Jay Mill coming up next. Don't go anywhere.